Hey y'all, Miss Kennedy here from Algebra Student. Today we're going to look at solving quadratics by taking square roots. And go ahead and hit the subscribe button because I'm going to show you how to understand algebra so that you can make sense of it and move on with your life. Now, be sure to stay to the end because I'm going to show you some extra hints related to this when we get to the end of the video. So, excitement. Okay. First things first, when you look at a problem like this and you're told solve this by taking square roots, then what you want to do first of all is think, okay, my goal is to get this x equal to something over here. Like that's my goal. And so your teacher might say you're going to isolate the variable, and that just means you want to get rid of all the rest of the stuff so that you just have x equals. So one of the things you can do at the beginning is think, okay, what if this just said 6x equals 54? Well, you know that you would divide both sides by 6 and get x is 9. Well, we're going to do the same thing first, even though it's got a lot of stuff going on with this x. It's adding 4, and that's in parentheses, and it's squared. But to begin with, it's just get rid of that thing that was in front of the parentheses. All right. So now they're similar in that it's still equal to 9, but you've got this x plus 4 squared thing going on. All righty. So next step, we're getting closer to x equals, but we're not quite there. So if there's nothing left outside of the x squared part, like all this is all in parentheses, so you're good there. There's nothing out front. There's nothing after the squared or anything like that. So the next thing is to take a square root. So you want to square root both sides. So square root, square root. When I do that, what happens is there's an understood 2 here, and a lot of times we don't think about that, but square root is the only time there's an understood 2 in math that I can think of right now. So it's kind of interesting that that square and that square root cancel each other out. So what you're left with is just what was underneath that radical. You're just left with the x plus 4. So if this had said x minus 3 squared and you take the square root, then you'd be left with x minus 3. So whatever's under the radical, that's what you're left with. This is the radical, this little square root symbol. All right. And then the square root of 9 is 3. And here's where a lot of people miss it. I don't want you to miss it. You always have to put plus or minus, and that just means positive 3 is a square root of 9 and negative 3 is a square root of 9. Because 3 times 3 is 9. That's the square. But if you take negative 3 and multiply it by negative 3, negative times negative is positive 9 also. So those are both square roots of 9, so you have to put both of them. All right, let me erase this because we're getting closer, but we're not quite there yet. So now remembering our goal is to get x equals a something, our number or our answer or solution. Think of this, just like in a regular problem, x plus 4 equals 3, what would you do? You would subtract 4 from both sides. And that's exactly what we're going to write here. And so now it's a matter of thinking like this. Now I've got the calculator sitting right here. There's not a plus or minus on there. This calculator's fantastic, but it doesn't give you that option. I don't know of a calculator that does. So you just have to understand how to deal with it and work it out that way. So it's not really that bad if you'll just stop and think, okay, this means positive 3 minus 4. So I've got 3 minus 4, but it also means negative 3 minus 4. And so those are the two things that you're going to solve to get your final answer. So 3 minus 4 is a negative 1, and then negative 3 minus 4 is a negative 7. And those are my solutions to this problem. Ooh, about covered it up. All right, that's the idea. That means that negative 1, if you plug it in here, this all ends up equaling to 54. And then negative 7 also works. If I plug in a negative 7 for x, this will equal to 54. And nothing else works. Positive 1 doesn't work. Positive 7 doesn't work. 0 doesn't work. There's no other number, fraction, anything that works except negative 1 and negative 7. Those are the two solutions to this equation. All right, for those of you that stuck around to the end, let me show you just one more just to kind of give you an example of sometimes it looks a little different. Sometimes it looks like this, and you don't have the parentheses. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of it like a regular linear equation that you're used to solving in algebra. So it doesn't have the square on it. So think about that. When you've got a problem like this, it's called a two-step equation. You would subtract 7 on both sides first. So we're going to do the same thing. It's very similar to a regular equation. Over here, we would get at 8n equals 480. And then think, in this situation, we would divide both sides by 8 and get our answer. And here we're going to do the same thing. Divide both sides by 8 and get our answer. Whereas here, we would get n equals. Here, we're going to be left with n squared. So 480 over 8. You can type it in with a divide button, or you can type it in as a fraction. I like to type it as a fraction because if the answer is a decimal, I'm going to need it as a fraction anyway. And if I type it in as a fraction, it'll give it to me. But that didn't apply here. So if this had just been n to begin with, then that would be my answer to that problem. Okay, but my answer is n squared, and I still need it to be n equals. So I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And remember that square root and that square cancel each other out. So it leaves you with n. And I'm taking the square root in an equation. So I need to write the plus or minus out front. And I'm going to do second x squared. And that gives me the little square root button. And hit the 60, and it tells me square root of 60 is 2 square root of 15, and actually I'm done. I don't even need this last little bit because that's my solution. 2 square root of 15 plugged in here will give me 487, and negative 2 square root of 15 plugged in here will give it to me. So let me show you that. Since you did stick around, I'll go ahead and plug that in for you. So 2 square root of 15. So I'm just plugging in where I see n, I put parentheses. And now I've got to get out from under that radical and close the parentheses. And then it says squared. So I hit the x squared button and then plus 7 and hit enter. And I get 487. Yay! And so now let's do it again. And this time we're going to use a negative 2. Square root of 15. Use my arrow to get out from under the radical. Hit the x squared button and then plus 7. And we get 487. It works. Both answers work. Those are both solutions to the problem. All right. I hope this helped. Have a great day.